I was on that planet for the 6th time, just before I received my full pardon and permission to leave that most remote solar system situated almost beyond the reach of the immediate emanations of the Most Holy Sun Absolute. That is just before my return to the center of the universe, to the place of my arising, to the immediate bosom of our common unibeing endlessness. Well, here I've had my first mince pie of the season, and I bought some lovely little Christmas decorations. They're little cotton stars, white, green and red. They're handmade by a lady in Broadstairs, and I got them on Vinted. They're really pretty. This week I've got 2 readings about the Enneagram. The Enneagram is a symbol Gurdjieff placed great importance on because it's a symbol that connects both the ascending and the descending current and is quite difficult to understand, I guess. I'll begin with those 2 readings. G returned to the Enneagram many times and in various connections. Each completed whole, each cosmos, each organism, each plant is an Enneagram. But not each of these Enneagrams has an inner triangle. The inner triangle stands for the presence of higher elements, according to the scale of hydrogens in a given organism. This inner triangle is possessed by such plants, for example, as hemp, poppy, hops, tea, coffee, tobacco, and many other plants which play a definite role in the life of man. To study these plants can reveal much for us in regards to the Enneagram. Speaking in general, it must be understood that the Enneagram is a universal symbol, and with the help of the Enneagram it can be interpreted. And in this connection, only what a man is able to put into the Enneagram does he actually know, that is, to understand. What he cannot put into the Enneagram he does not yet understand. For the man who is able to make use of it, the Enneagram makes books and libraries entirely unnecessary. A man may be quite alone in the desert, and he can trace the Enneagram in the sand and in it read the eternal laws of the universe, and every time he can learn something new, something he did not know before. If 2 men who have been in different schools meet, they will draw the Enneagram, and with its help they will be able at once to establish which of them knows more and which consequently stands upon which step. That is to say, which is the elder, which is the teacher, and which the pupil. The Enneagram is the fundamental hieroglyph of a universal language which has as many different meanings as there are levels of men. And the Enneagram is perpetual motion. The same perpetual motion that men have sought since the remotest antiquity and could never find. And it is clear why they could not find perpetual motion. They sought outside themselves that which was within them, and they attempted to construct perpetual motion as a machine is constructed, whereas real perpetual motion is a part of another perpetual motion, and cannot be created apart from it. The Enneagram is a schematic diagram of perpetual motion, that is, of a machine of eternal movement. But of course it is necessary to know how to read this diagram. The understanding of it and the ability to make use of it gives man a very great power. The knowledge of the Enneagram has for a very long time been preserved in secret, and if it now is, so to speak, made available to all, it is only in an incomplete and theoretical form, of which nobody could make any practical use of without instruction from a man who knows. In order to understand it, it must be thought of as in motion, as moving. A motionless Enneagram is a dead symbol. The living symbol is in motion. My first thought, I will tell you honestly. After many years I have realized that many of the Chinese methods I've discussed, and also the octaves that are used in Catholicism, these are methods with 7 steps. And if one has a great passion to practice some method that you have received from an old school, only then can you really hope to put Gurdjieff's ideas to use. Otherwise, just reading them and thinking about them will not deliver the results. But I guess those who know that, right? You have to work it inside of you. You have to knead the dough. I think this also makes difference on my personal journey, because in the West, there have been magicians and hermeticists who have sought to conjure up things with clever formulae. But that's not my path. My path is in the body. Like, I want to fly, not in a clever contraption, but actually, like, lift off the ground. And I'm not talking about levitation. And like Gurdjieff says, every time you do it, you learn something new if you have a passion to learn. Let's look at the second passage. As we pointed out before, man takes in 3 kinds of food. Each one of them is the beginning of a new octave. The second octave, that is the air octave, joins up with the first, that is the octave of food and drink, at the point where the first octave comes to a stop in its development at the note Mi. For those of you that don't know, Gurdjieff is relating the movement through the Enneagram, through those 9 points, to the solfège, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. And the third octave joins up with the second at the point where the second octave comes to a stop in its development at the note Mi. But it must be understood, just as in many chemical processes, only definite quantities of substances exactly determined by nature give compounds of the required quality. So in the human organism, the 3 kinds of food must be mixed in definite proportions. The final substance in the process of the food octave is the substance C, hydrogen 12 in the 3rd scale, which needs an additional shock in order to pass into a new dough. But as 3 octaves have taken part in the production of this substance, their influence is also reflected in the final result by determining its quality. The quality and quantity can be regulated by regulating the 3 kinds of food received by the organism. Only in the presence of a full and harmonious conformity between all 3 kinds of food, by a strengthening or weakening of the different parts of the process, is the required result obtained. But it is essential to remember that no arbitrary attempts to regulate food in the literal sense of the word, or breathing, can lead to the desired end until one knows exactly what one is doing and why, and what kind of result it will give. And furthermore, Even if a man were to succeed in regulating two components of the process, food and breathing, again this would not be enough, because it is still more important to know how to regulate the food of the third story, impressions. Therefore, before even thinking of influencing practically the inner processes, it is essential to understand the exact mutual relationships of the substances entering the organism, the nature of the possible shocks, and the laws governing the transition of notes. These laws are everywhere the same. In studying man, we study the cosmos. In studying the cosmos, we study man. The cosmic octave, all the way down through the sun, the earth, and to the moon, has, according to the law of three, been broken into three subordinate octaves. In these three octaves, the cosmos is like man, the same three stories, the same three shocks. Where, in the cosmic octaves of radiation, the place of the interval Fermi appears, in the diagram are marked the machines which are found there in the same way as in the human body. The process of the transition Fermi can be represented in the most schematic way. Thus, the cosmic fire enters this machine like the food of the lower story, and begins its cycle of changes. Therefore, in the beginning it sounds in the machine as do. The substance Sol of the cosmic octave serves as the substance which enters the middle story like the air in breathing, which helps the note Fa inside the machine to pass into the note Mi. This Sol, on entering the machine, also sounds as Do. The matter which has now been obtained is joining in the upper story by the substance of the cosmic La, which enters the upper story of the machine also as Do. As we see from this, the following notes La, Sol, Fa serve as food for the machine. In the order of their succession, according to the law of three, La will be the active element, Sol the neutralizing, and Fa the passive. The active principle reacting with the passive, that is, becoming connected with it by the help of the neutralizing principle, gives a certain definite result. This is represented symbolically thus. This symbol points out that the substance Fa, in being mixed with the substance La, gives as a result the substance Sol. And as this process proceeds in the octave, developing as it were inside the note Fa, it is therefore possible to say that Fa without changing its pitch acquires the properties of Sol. All that has been said about the octaves of radiation and about the food octaves in the human organism has a direct connection with the symbol consisting of a circle divided into 9 parts. This symbol, as the expression of a perfect synthesis, contains within itself all the elements of the laws it represents, and from it can be extracted, and by its help transmitted everything that is connected with these octaves and much else besides. This morning I spent 3.5 hours with a Stanley knife cutting panels for a cold loft room wall, and at times I was questioning my life. And this kind of material I feel the same about. It's difficult. It's quite painful to read it. But I am convinced that if I keep banging my head on a brick wall, something's going to change. I will make something go inside, whether it likes it or not. I started to get a feeling about something, about things mixing together and taking on different characteristics. I'm starting to smell something here. And that's what I'm doing. I'm laying in front of myself a trap, because I want to be caught. I keep providing the food for me and hope that one day somebody can pay the bill. Originally, when I saw this stuff, I thought, oh my god, I'm going to have to memorize all these tables and, become an alchemist or something. But I see now that that really is not much use. The real thing is that the animal inside of you starts to smell what it is and starts to do what you're meant to do. It instinctively learns. It's not your mind that has to know. Your mind is already a bloody genius. Everybody's mind is a genius. It's only the animal inside of you that's not a genius. And it's him you have to teach. And one day he will put you out of your misery. I've undertaken this project, to put some insulation on this cold bedroom wall. I was feeling a bit anxious about it, and on the weekend, in order to prepare myself, I started paying careful attention to the ordinary things that I was doing. In the kitchen, in the bathroom, walking down the street, but doing it in quite a disciplined way. Doing it by the numbers. Slowly bringing a bit of discipline back into my life over the weekend, over a few days, so that when I got to Monday morning, things would be a bit closer and I'd make life easier for me. That works. And in regards to the legend of Hercules who did the impossible, everything is impossible. I want to talk a little bit about what exactly is wrong with universities, but I think I'll leave that for another day. Thank you once again for listening, and I wish you well and have a good week. Goodbye.
The debris, the decay, there's little left to follow. So sad that I won't come over. Turn to me, turn away, just standing at the follow, and you're so far away from me. How many miles ago a dream that fell, lamented in the morning glow, embraced and left alone. How many miles ago unbreak the spell? I still remember how it was before. Once in our lives, wish they cut that